I think everybody, unless they're pretty cold-hearted or worse than that, nuts. There's nothing you can say other than it's terrible when you see the kids. And those are kids, whether they talk starvation or not, those are kids that are starving. They are starving. And you see the mothers, they love them so much, and there's just nothing they seem to be able to do. They got to get them food, and we're going to get them food.
Yeah, if only we could find out who's doing this, who's allowing this. I don't know, man. What? You mean to tell me I'm the president of the United States of America that is single-handedly responsible for Israel's genocide? The only country more responsible, or if not just as responsible for Israel's genocide? Man, my hands are tied. It's just, you don't understand. My hands are so tied. One phone call, chat. Do not forget. Literally one phone call. Boop. Pull up the phone. Say it's over. It's done. And it's done. One single phone call. That, I think, makes the situation so much worse. And every single person that acted as though that was not the case is a liar. Because if it's not one phone call and Israel doesn't listen, then you deny weapons transfers. And if Israel still doesn't listen and says, okay, we can get weapons elsewhere, then it's sanctions. And if Israel still says, oh, well, we'll get weapons elsewhere and we'll do trade with another country, which, by the way, who the are they going to do trade with at this point in that predicament? Then you invade. Okay, Israel knows this, which is why it's just one phone call. It doesn't have to go beyond that.
My source tonight is Senator
After
Bernie Sanders.
sanctions, what? Sorry, cut off on my end. I'm curious. Invading militarily. Invading Israel militarily is the final step if Israel does not comply, but it's not going to happen anyway.
And Senator, when you hear the Israeli Prime Minister saying there's no starvation happening in Gaza, what, do you believe he's lying?
Of course he's lying. He is a disgusting liar. Israel had a right to defend itself from the terrible Hamas attack. But I think everybody understands that in the last 2.5 years,
Bernard, shut up. Stop. That's definitely getting clip chimped. Oh no, I'm going to be clip chimped where I said if Israel refuses to abide by American sanctions, then they'll get invaded militarily. Really? Oh no. What will I do? I guess I'm being so anti-Semitic for saying that the solution to Israel's genocide literally requires one phone call. And if the phone call doesn't work, then denying weapons transfers. If denying weapons transfers doesn't work, then sanctions package. And if the sanctions package doesn't work, then you invade Israel militarily. This is just how it works, okay, for every country, but especially important for our allies that require a steady flow of shipment. You can clip it, you can ship it, you can send it to your mama, you can send it to your daddy. For those who said for months, Hasan, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, you're a terrorist, you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semite. A lot of those motherfuckers are quiet now because they know I was right, okay? So if they're still desperately looking for another thing to hold on to try to demand my deplatforming, okay, I'll continue doing what I'm doing, and then I'll see you in the next 3 to 4 months.
We cannot continue to provide military aid to the extremist, racist Netanyahu government that is starving the children of Gaza.
Oh, I saw the Jordan Weissman take. Jordan Weissman, as Dems converge on agreement that Israel has been committing an atrocity, I do think there needs to be some reckoning among moderates, that while lots of ugly anti-Semitism burst from the left after October 7, the leftists were fundamentally more right about this war, about what this war would become. Then this person responds and says, did centrist Democrats not say up front that we needed a ceasefire ASAP? I feel like I did not remotely exclusively hear this from the left. What a way to massage the narrative. Yeah. Karine Jean-Pierre called calls for a ceasefire repugnant. ASAP? Get the out of here. ASAP my ass. It's so funny. And also, even this is wishy-washy bullshit. Ugly anti-Semitism burst from the left. The ugly anti-Semitism from the left was hurting people's feelings because we correctly said Israel's an apartheid state that is doing a genocide. Okay? Yeah, comical that centrist writers are writing off early leftist warnings of Israeli genocide as the boy who cried wolf, when our analysis was based on an analysis of Zionist political intentions that proved completely accurate. You guys were only right because your analysis of people perpetuating this war just so happened to line up with what they ended up doing. Yes, that is the point of analysis. You probably forgot it while you were wrong about everything for 20 years. It is insane. Benjamin Netanyahu said Amalek literally the day after. Yoav Gallant 2 days after said, we're fighting human animals. We have to shut off their food, their electricity, their water. Oh, wow. It takes a special breed of future seer to literally listen to what the Israeli state members were saying about what kind of war effort that they were going to conduct. Oh, wow. There it is. During an October 10th briefing, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who is uniquely bad at her job, literally called a ceasefire, progressive Congress members who call for a ceasefire in the Middle East, disgraceful and repugnant. They're trying to launder their reputation. It's like, dude, delete your tweets first. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Except you can't delete this. It's so stupid. Matt Iglesias, another demon. I'm just deeply reluctant to credit the critics for being right, in air quotes, about this. They at every turn took concrete political actions that made the worst case outcomes more rather than less likely. Matt Iglesias is deeply reluctant to credit those of us who understood on day one that Israel was waging a war of extermination as right. It's so funny that these dipshits are trying to do the, oh, well, I guess we were wrong about the Iraq war while it's literally happening and everyone can see it as being fraudulent. Dude, you have to wait. You have to wait like a couple years before you whitewash and launder your reputation. It's still going on. It doesn't make sense to try and spin on the one hand, while on the other hand, you're still trying to defend your lack of interest in stopping the bloodshed. Who believes this? The appropriate thing to say is, and here is God's honest truth, the appropriate thing to say in this circumstance is, we were wrong, the left was right. A critical examination of why we were wrong and the left was right is necessary so that we don't repeat this mistake again. They won't do it because they're in power. I remember when you decided to change your mind about the Iraq war, but why do you think this keeps happening to you? It's because they're careerists, okay? For many of them, it's just about being a careerist because they know they'll never be punished. Actually, they'll be elevated for being wrong. They're deliberately wrong. They're deliberately obtuse. They're inhumane, amoral monsters, okay? All of them. And I said this on October 8th, and I said this on October 9th, 2023, and I continue to say it. Go back and watch any of the videos that I have from back then that people love clipping out of context to talk about how passionate I was and how wrong I was for demonstrating such passion. And you will see that anger was perfectly warranted. I was right then and I'm right now. And so are many of you who maybe initially thought it's a bridge too far how quickly Hasan is defending Palestinians here. I mean, October 7 just happened, but at least you have the decency to sit there quietly, listen, learn, and change your position as the environment changes. Anti-Semitism in U.S. rages while college protests intensify. Now, police detaining anti-Israel protesters. Worst case scenario, watchdog agency says. Student activism over Gaza. Admirable or ill-informed? Gazans are dying of starvation. One day, everyone will have been against this. Yeah, I didn't shy away from saying the truth, even one iota, since day one. I believed that people would inevitably realize the unavoidable reality. And thankfully, there were plenty of others who also recognized right from wrong and literally continued to protest and never shied away from keeping up the pressure, because all of that pressure amounted to the public sentiment shifting dramatically, regardless of all of the legal criminal repercussions that people faced. All of the student activists on college campuses that made those college encampments and then got destroyed for it, had their diplomas taken away from them. Also, this is precisely the reason why I'm still understanding of people who at least recognize that they were wrong, no matter how far along they are, because there are still plenty of pieces of like Matt Iglesias who know better, but are doing it because they're careerists. I tweeted this earlier. I said, for those of you finally coming to terms with what Palestinians have been saying for years, I hope this is a time for self-reflection. If not for careerist reasons, how could you have gotten something so heinous, so wrong? Let this be a wake-up call and start the pressure immediately. It's so crazy to do this. What a clown ass this dip is. I think you're blurring issues. I agree with the protest taxes were often counterproductive. Why were they counterproductive? And they were wrong about the stakes in 2024. Why were they wrong? Someone needs to explain to me why those protests were counterproductive. That's why I don't understand what Controversy was talking about too, when she was like, you're just making people angry. That's it. By showing what the Palestinians are screaming about. I mean, look at the environment. The do you mean? the protests were wrong. If it wasn't for the protests, everyone would have shut the fuck up and lived along with their daily lives as the Holocaust kept being unfolded in front of everyone's eyes in broad daylight. What do you mean? What was wrong about the protest tactics? But I also think that in the first month of the war, the left had a better read on what was to come from Israel. What was wrong? What was wrong? No one likes to admit they were wrong, especially about one of the most awful catastrophes of the century. You're 2-2 with Palestine and Iraq, says Jacob Silverman, the Mad Iglesias. This is why it's important when you talk about E or D or Nazi mold. They were and are spreading bullshit defending Israel, among others. It isn't just drama. It's trying to show these idiots are wrong on what they spew. Yes, they are objectively wrong. Their politics are objectionable. They're repugnant, but they're also wrong. Who wants to be wrong all the time? This is what I don't understand. You'd rather be wrong in your hug box? It doesn't make any sense. The Times should pay a price. They've been in jihad mode for a long time in a lot of ways. Freak, dude. The more wrong they are, the angrier the crowd gets, and the bigger that crowd gets, calling out Israel's genocide, the more Israel defenders lose their minds. They become increasingly unhinged. You see? That's what's so crazy about this. The protests were wrong because their team had the presidency at the moment. It's like, I care about the issue. I don't care if it's a D. The only thing I heard from the left was October 7th was good and justified, and I do not feel like this has been vindicated by subsequent events. Oh my God. There were so many exit ramps for these people to get off, okay? So many different moments where they could be like, okay, this is a bridge too far. So many bridges they crossed. It's getting to a point where you won't be able to cross a bridge. It's already there, and I understand why some people will say, nope, we're far gone at that point, and I agree. But the more bridges you cross, okay, the more aggressive you have to be in defending Palestinians. Like, you have to turn into a Fedayeen, okay? You have to put on the goddamn Al-Qassam Brigade's Al-Aqsa Flood war banner and run around talking about how Hamas is glorious and great at this point to make up for what you have done wrong thus far in this genocide. You've crossed too many exit ramps, too many dead children in the process that you watched and said, it's justifiable, okay? If you want to make up for it, you got to turn around and put that banner on, okay? You got to revert to Islam and talk about the Al-Aqsa floods. What else can you do at that point? You know what I mean? So many moments where you could have just been like, maybe this is kind of fucked up, when they were blowing up Lebanon, blowing up Syria. There are still people who literally think that it was the left's miscalculation for focusing on the genocide and not the Democratic Party's miscalculation for thinking that average people, not just like card-carrying leftists, would actually be horrified by an administration that does not give a about the violence that has unfolded in broad daylight. It was consequential, okay? It was consequential. When I hear someone say, what about October 7? What about Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas right now, 22 months in? I'm like, you are a animal, dude. What are you talking about? There have been thousands of October 7s, far more consequential and far worse than October 7 ever could be. Like 3 October 7s a week, dude. What are you talking about, October 7? Warnock flips, will vote to block weapons. He went back on it. He had originally voted to block weapons, and then he got yelled at by like all of these Israel advocacy groups that masquerade as Jewish advocacy groups. And now he's back. I suspect John Ossoff will also get back as well. Remember, these guys are from a red state, all right? It's especially concerning that Raphael Warnock folded as a person who literally is equipped with the knowledge of liberation theology. I've made it clear I support the state of Israel and its right to defend itself. No more. No more of this. Israel has a right to defend itself. Bullshit. The f do you mean? Nazi Germany has a right to defend itself. Does Russia have a right to defend itself? Do we get to decide who has a right to defend itself and who doesn't have a right to defend itself? It seems like it. Palestinians, no right to defend themselves. Yeah, just put the vote in the bag is right. The funniest backlash and subsequent flip happened immediately after October 7. Many of you are not Turkish speakers, so you don't know this, but I made big waves in the nationalist side of Turkish Twitter and Turkish Twitch specifically. October 8th or 9th, I said Turks kept coming into the chat because they hate Arabs. They were like, oh, dude, Hamas are all Arab dogs. We stand with Israel type shit. That's what they were on, okay? Now, they would never admit to that, okay? But so many came after me so aggressively. I said the Turks defending Israel are dogs, okay? I said the Turks that are defending Israel are dogs of the West, not realizing that Israel is an extension of American Western imperialism, and American and Western imperialists do not see you any differently than Arabs. I called them servile dogs. They said I was racist. They demanded I get banned. They were losing their minds. You know what's really funny? It took like 3 days for the entire Turkish population to revolt against Israel, and every single person that had said that deleted their tweets calling me out. It was the most swift action reaction I've ever seen in my life. Turkey to this day is the one country in NATO that hates America and hates Israel. It's like 80% and 90%, which is so funny. I've never seen vindication so fast. Yeah, big Turkish streamers came after me. They were going crazy. They were like doxing my family and look at this. 93% have a unfavorable opinion of Israel in Turkey. It is the highest percentage. I thought it was a betrayal of the Ottoman Empire by Arabs. That plays a role in it for sure. That definitely plays a role in it.